Okay, what up, friendos? Welcome back. We're going to talk today about a specific scenario involving a video game that I like. I enjoy this game. Well, I did, at least. But more focusing on the overall picture of one of the worst video gaming companies around, and one I don't think gets as much hate as it probably should. We're talking about Krafton. And we're talking about Krafton specifically with what they've just done with Last Epoch, which is an ARPG. It's a game that released recently into their 1.0. I did play it on the release. Cool game if you want to like have a break from the grueling nature of Path of Exile. I think Last Epoch is a fun experience. Unfortunately, it's currently being review bombed for something that the developer has essentially been forced into, at least as far as I can tell, from the publisher Krafton. Now, Krafton has been in the headlines for the last 6+ months because of what they've been doing in regards to trying to swindle, trying to cheat the developers that they purchased who made Subnautica out of a massive bonus that they offered them when the company was purchased, when they purchased the IP. And that's a whole story I'm not going to get into here because it's way too dense to speak about offhandedly in a video. But basically, ever since then, Krafton have been in the headlines over and over again for just making some of the dumbest fucking decisions I've ever seen. And they're doing exactly what you saw companies doing 3 years ago when the NFT craze was going on, but back before everyone decided NFTs were dead and just sort of collectively ignored the fact that they've been talking about how NFTs were going to revolutionize the entire industry and telling all the shareholders, oh yeah, we're definitely building on the blockchain, guys. That's certainly happening. And then doing nothing, and it doing nothing as a technology in the games industry, and just pretending like they never said it. So the new thing that everybody's doing is AI, right? Everyone's doing AI. AI this, AI that. And Krafton specifically have said, we are going to be an AI first company, which you can translate this in many different ways. It is a South Korean company, so Google Translate this one. We are going to be an AI first company, aka we're going to produce utter fucking garbage and hope that we can produce this garbage with less payroll, less employees, and therefore make a higher profit margin. That's basically where we're at with it. And I will just say, for clarity's sake, and because some people will have this opinion, and they're absolutely correct, if a game uses AI and the game's good enough, nobody will care. And when I say nobody, I'm being a little bit hyperbolic because some people will care. But realistically, the amount of people that care versus how much money the game will make if the game's good enough makes it a completely redundant and irrelevant opinion. Like, there will be people that will always say, I won't buy this, I won't support this because it's against my beliefs or whatever. Fair enough, if that's the way you feel. Vote with your wallet always. But if a thing is good enough, it will sell, and people will buy it, and people will play it, and it will become the new norm. That's forever. Like, it doesn't matter what the technology is. This would happen with blockchain, it would happen with crypto, it would happen with NFTs. It will happen with AI if they can actually get it over the finish line to being a good product. I think that's just common sense. But what we've seen so far is that the way that AI, and this is such an overly broad term, is being used, we don't have a proof of concept of this, like, managing these companies better. There's studies out there where most companies that have been using AI have said it hasn't changed anything. Like, we've not got more productive. We've not got significantly less productive either. So we'll have to see where this goes. But Krafton, in the last 6 months, have lost 30% of their market cap. They're down 18% on the year. And this is when a lot of other gaming companies are doing fine. They're doing okay. And the reason Krafton's share price is getting fucked into the ground is that they've not really managed to build upon any of the big IPs that they've had, and they've just sort of stagnated. But also because when they're doing things like offering resignation programs for people that are higher up in the company, just so that they can replace those people presumably with AI management, which is fucking insane when there's no proof of concept of this working. Obviously, this is going to have ramifications on the share price because people lose confidence in the company. And while there is a lot of circle jerking around AI, right up until the point where they are producing good products that are making tons of money, it's going to be seen as a risk, especially when, again, the company is sort of on the backslide as it is. That being said, Krafton have bought some companies and bought some IPs and bought some games that I like. And one of those was Last Epoch. And I'll remind you, when Last Epoch, it was a Kickstarter game, one of the many successors that aren't an MMORPG from Kickstarter. They said this one-time payment will be all that a player will have to spend to have the complete Last Epoch experience and be on the same footing as other players. This is a promise to people backing the game for the future that you won't have to buy anything apart from cosmetics, things like cosmetic battle passes, cosmetics in the cash shop. It's going to be a box price game, and that's it. Now you'll see that they have a mostly negative review score, and this is off the back of a very recent bit of news that they are now introducing paid DLCs that are classes in the game. You can see here what they're saying. Everyone who owns the game before this new expansion comes out will get this new expansion for free. But then they're also introducing, and it just makes me laugh that they've trotted somebody out here and said, okay, maybe they use ChatGPT for this. Maybe this is part of the new AI first. But try to present to the players this overwhelmingly negative thing that is a polar opposite of what we've previously said. And by the way, Last Epoch's not like the biggest game ever, but when people were kind of sick of Path of Exile 2, specifically in 0.2's patch, I followed this all at the time because I was playing both games. A lot of people were like, Last Epoch does a lot of things well, and they're doing things that their fans really like, and there's a really hardcore sort of contingent of people that always come back for the new seasons for this game, and the game could be like a big competitor to Path of Exile, while Path of Exile were making bad decisions early on, and could just go alongside it. As long as they don't release at the same time, people are going to play both games because it's an enjoyable experience, and it's a lot more light on your time than Path of Exile is, because the gearing seems to, like, unless you're going for super perfect gear, you can sort of get to end game in Last Epoch quite quickly, and it's not as complicated as PoE. So there's a place for it. It's like a more arcadey version. It's kind of like D3 versus Path of Exile back in the day. So there's a lot of people that have bought into this and have been really praising the devs prior to this bullshit, and then they've trotted this line out and tried to make it as if it's a good thing. I'm excited to announce that we are introducing something genuinely new to Last Epoch. It's a good thing, guys. It's good. A fully alternate playable class built on systems that work differently from anything else in the game. Okay, you had my curiosity. Now you've got my attention. We're calling this new category Paradox classes, and the first one will debut alongside the upcoming expansion as paid DLC for players who want to explore new playstyles. These classes will let us experiment in new and innovative ways, and we'll have plenty to share as we get closer to release. So this is a good thing. We're going back on everything we said previously that we've sold you on for multiple years, that we sold to get the game funded, that we've sold throughout being supported on early access, that we've sold on the game fully releasing. We're now going back on that completely, and we're selling you a paid character, which I don't have to be the fucking clairvoyant here to tell you that how this always works. It's the same exact model that it has always worked for games where they sell you a class or a character. League of Legends, looking at you, for example. The class is always strong as fuck, right? Because it's hard anyway to balance new things when you bring it in. There's always like creep of power when you're designing new things. The new thing is usually either incredibly undertuned or incredibly overtuned. This can be seen as pay to win, but not only that, the issue is you're going back on a commitment, and that's the first erosion of trust where people they're out on your game, especially when there's alternatives. If Path of Exile was in a really shit position and the game sucked, it'd be more likely people could swallow this. But while Path of Exile 2 is getting better and better, PoE 1's still being supported, this is a real good way to just say, fuck this game completely. Because if this is what you're doing now, what are you going to be doing 2 or 3 years down the line with Krafton involved? And considering Krafton's getting absolutely fucked on their share price, it makes sense that they're trying to milk some of these IPs. Because while you've got a successful ARPG that's doing really well, you know, why not try to fuck that player base? Why not try to get some more nickels and dimes out of them, shake them by the ankles and see what comes out? There will always inevitably be people in the comment section that are like, Kira, all you do is complain about monetization. You're poor. Why would a company not want to earn money? Won't you think of the multi-billion-dollar company that earns billions of dollars in revenue every year? Surely they need this. Surely Last Epoch needs this to survive. The Last Epoch does well. Last Epoch does well on cosmetics. It sells a lot of cosmetics. It's obviously selling DLCs now for people that are new to the game if they buy the game after this. They've got a box price. They've got a full-fledged cash shop. And now it's reasonable for them to be selling something they said they would never sell. I'm sorry, guys, but if you think this is like a valid criticism of either me talking about this or a defense of this as a consumer, again, you are a fucking idiot and you probably need to not be watching videos like this and instead listening to the audiobook of C-Spot Run, because obviously you're just out of your depth on these conversations. That being said, I don't think this is like going to insta-kill the game overnight. I think if the game's still good, as I said with the AI stuff, people are still going to play it. But this company they're going to fuck all these games up if you like any of them. I know obviously the PUBG extraction shooter is going to beta access or whatever within the next couple of weeks, which I'm looking forward to trying. Hopefully it's good. More competition in a genre I enjoy is always cool. And I felt the same way about Last Epoch. It's not my favorite ARPG, but it's certainly better than Diablo 4 in my opinion. And it's also a breath of fresh air from playing Pathway of Exile 2, which I do really enjoy a lot. So it's sad to see because I'm not going to buy a new DLC class for this. I don't like when Blizzard does it. I'm not going to support it. Even though I played D3 for a super long time, I never bought their DLC class, the Necromancer or whatever it was. Never, ever did. And even when it was on sale towards the last lifespan of the game, never touched that shit. Never will. If you sell me a game, I'm not going to pay for characters, bro. That is fucking stupid. There's a lot of things I will pay to support a game. Like, I have disposable income. I do pay for games that I play, even free-to-play ones. Specifically, when you tell me you're never going to do it and then you do it anyway, fuck you forever. Like, that, I'm not going to play this game moving forward because the precedent that sets as a customer that has alternatives is just one where I can turn around and say, no, actually, this is a step too far, fuck you. I don't think this should be allowed, but obviously once a company's been purchased by another one, the developers are not free of blame for this. Like, as many people are going to absolve them and say, oh, it's not their fault, they still love the game, they would have not done this. They knew this was going to happen the moment they sold their ass to Krafton or any other one of these big publishers, because what the fuck do you think is going to happen? They get a big payday selling the game, they get their financial security and their future sorted, but it's at the expense of a player base that supported them all the way to that financial stability and freedom. The same conversation happens every time this does. Oh, the original developers, this is not on them. It absolutely is, you know, maybe with a layer of abstraction, but it is absolutely their choice. And they do say here, they address the whole Krafton thing. There's been a lot of discussion on Krafton's recent comments about being AI first and what it might mean for EHG. To be clear, our development approach is not changing. We remain focused on building Last Epoch the same way we always have in the hands-on design philosophy. To support this, we are hiring across several disciplines. If you have experience that fits and a real understanding of the ARPG genre, we encourage you to apply here. In this aspect you are, but obviously Krafton's done something, because if you would have done this without Krafton's input, fuck your game forever, and you. While things change, things usually change with a lack of success. When you're more successful and making more money, you don't do this, right? You could understand if the game was fucking failing and flopping, but if you look at their numbers from when they first began to how big their releases have been for their seasons, like you can see this at the release, season, reaching, you know, hundreds of thousands of players, selling millions of copies of this game, selling undoubtedly millions of dollars worth of cash shop currency, to buy their incredibly expensive cosmetic packs in their shop. They've done super well, and now they're milking. You could understand if they were still down to like a couple thousand concurrent players, and they're like, oh, to make ends meet, obviously cosmetics are not doing it, we've got to sell a class. I'd be forgiving for that, because if that would save the company, that would make sense. This game's done incredibly well, bro. And it follows the cycle of every ARPG. Like, if you look at Path of Exile numbers, it's the same. Not as low as this, because it's obviously a more established game. But they have big releases for their seasons, and then they drop down to like a very bare minimum amount of players till the new season comes out. and they maintain that for either a couple of weeks or a couple months, depending on how good that season is. It's just the way that these things go. As you can see, the only form of real money microtransactions last Epoch will ever have are cosmetic. But as they say, nothing lasts forever, I guess. And now that the developers have sold their ass to Krafton, Krafton's going to use it, and they're going to continue to use it until this game either is fucked into the ground, or it makes them enough money to offset the rest of the company that they're killing with this AI first fucking nonsense. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. Hopefully Krafton see this and say, actually, let's not ruin this game that people like and makes us a bunch of money. But considering Krafton's history, I don't exactly think that's going to be the case. Either way, thanks for watching as always. Hopefully you enjoyed. And suggest content you want to see me cover, check the link in the video description for game subs. Support me, use my code, get a discount, I get money back. Win-win for everybody, and I'll see you next time. Stay safe, we're out, peace.